Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. It's Woodbine Mohawk Park, getting set for night 2 of our 4-day rotation here. We're 45 minutes away from race number 1 of 12 for our 6:15 new post time. That pregame show at 5:30. We'll get to the fellas in a moment, and Randy and John standing by. We're on a fast track, all pacing dashes, -7 Celsius, 19 Fahrenheit, just a few flurries in the area, a west wind that's not too bad at 14 kilometers an hour. All in all, for early January, not too bad out there. As we welcome you back. Inside the announcer's booth, Chad Rosemary here to call the action. As mentioned, Randy and John standing by in studio. They've got plenty to discuss, including tonight's program. Lots to look forward to. Just like last night with the 12 dashes, we've got a pumped-up wagering menu. No carryovers necessarily to gloat about. We do have a one-night carryover in the high five, but we've got that third pick 5 that's going to start in race number 8. So races 1, 6, and 8 for the pick 5 opportunities. Let's get you caught up with the early changes on tonight's program. Race number 1 to start the first pick 5. That one is guaranteed at $75,000. And we do have a scratch, I believe at this point, the only scratch of the night. Number 10, All-Star Commander, Judges Transportation. Race 2, number 7, PL Aussie. Up front, changes the shoes from flip-flops to aluminum. Flops to aluminum shoes up front on 7, PL Aussie in race 2. Third race to start the early pick 4, no changes. Race 4, pick 6 is underway. The 2, Hans By. Blinkers to blind. Blinkers to blind on the 2 Hans By, whereas number 8, Cold Creek Pantera, will go blind to blinkers. Blind to blinkers on the 8, Cold Creek Pantera. Fifth race, 8, Poseidon Sealster adds blinkers. Blinkers are added to number 8, Poseidon Sealster in race 5. Race 6 to start the mid-pick 5, starts with no changes. Race number 7 is all clear. Late pick 5 gets underway in race number 8. Number 3, Delta Sunrise. Aluminum to steel shoes up front, and a Murphy blind on the left is added. Aluminum to steel up front. A Murphy blind on the inside added to number 3, Delta Sunrise, in the kickoff to that late pick 5. Ninth race to start the late pick 4 is the open pace, no changes. Race number 10, number 2, La Mondier goes open to Swedish blinds. Open to Swedish blinds on the 2, La Mondier. Race 11, number 2, Utopia Blue Chip. Steel to flip-flops up front. Steel to flip-flop shoes up front on the 2, Utopia Blue Chip in the 11th. And the 12th and final with a one-night jackpot high-five carryover of just under $6,300. Just note that number 1 national tier is not missing any chart lines. Chart lines are up to date. So just a handful of changes. If you're just tuning in, you can catch them on the scroll or check out hpibet.com. Good luck with all your Saturday night wagers. First of 12 getting underway in 42 minutes as we head downstairs for the Saturday edition of Woodbine Racing Live with Randy and John.
The Woodbine Mohawk Park Racetrack is located within the traditional lands of the Mississaugas of the Credit of the Anishinaabe peoples and the Haudenosaunee, on whose traditional territory we meet. Mohawk, our namesake, is one of the Haudenosaunee nations, Kanyen-Kahaka, meaning the people of the Flint. This territory is covered by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, an agreement between the Anishinaabe and the Haudenosaunee to peacefully take care of the land and resources around the Great Lakes. Woodbine Entertainment is honored to care for this land, our human and equine athletes, and provide a place to race responsibly that offers a meaningful way of life for thousands of Ontario families. Miigwech, Niawen, Kanaskomitin, Merci, thank you.
Campbell still the best, 19 in a row. Campbell.
Battle to the wire. Emily Chef wins the Simcoe Stakes.
He's big, he's strong, and he has going on. Top 25, Canada's horse. Some reach somewhere.
Yeah, motivated on focus.
There, rough and pacing.
This is the moment. Gotta one on my opponent.
McWicked on the outside.
Gotta get it the mindset. Gotta put it in motion.
You gotta be kidding me. PCI wins the million.
Game time, bet I'm coming in clutch. No hang time, man, they can't keep up. The game's on the line, seconds.
Lean back, get your picture taken.
Crowning moment on Canadian soil for Bulldog Hanover.
Motivated on focus.
A late push from Confederate. It's my show. Wins the big show.
This is the moment.
Happy Saturday, everybody. Welcome to night 2 of racing here at Woodbine Mohawk Park in 2026. We got the year underway last night, 12 races, and we're going to have 12 on pack tonight as well. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to working yet again with my co-host, the Hall of Famer, Randy Waples, and solid night of racing. Last night, I know we had a couple of finals that we'll get a chance to preview momentarily, but I found this card, I think there's some horses that I'm really intrigued to watch and maybe side with tonight, but some races I found to be a bit of a puzzler.
Yeah, something I found last night. I thought last night it was going to be kind of a formful kind of a card, but it wasn't. And now tonight I find tonight's card to be a real mystery. So did you found tonight's card to be a bit of a mystery?
Yeah, some races.
Me too.
I'm going to take some stands. In some of
like
those
for
races.
a Saturday night, you know what I mean? Like usually it's a little, a little bit more, I don't know, easier to read, I guess. You always get your races where you're going to have one or two standouts. I don't see that happening tonight.
What makes it tough is some of those cancellations, right? Because
Yes.
some of those dates are a little bit off. Horses coming in having missed a few weeks. I'm sure that some of them are going to be fit, but that adds a little bit of a wrinkle. There's some 6 scratches, right? I mean, even was it last night we saw a horse compete that missed quite a bit of time. Stampa.
Yeah.
He's taken some support. Hadn't raced since October
Jason Libby.
31st.
Wasn't it? Was
Mike
it the Libby
Timpano.
horse? Oh, Shuri was another one.
Yeah, Shuri
okay.
was the winner.
Right.
Stampa was one that you and I said, this horse has taken an awful lot of support given we haven't seen it race since October 31st. I guess eligible to race given that he was
Timpano.
entered within that time frame that you don't not required
60
to qualify.
days, I think
Still
what
a
it is.
bit of-
And he was in it not on the date, but on the date that he entered is what
Yeah.
allowed him in. And it's
Still one of those things where I get it. It's within the rules, obviously.
I don't.
But it's still hard to handicap without any sort of charted line or maybe some added information for the public. That part can be a little bit tricky though.
Yeah.
Because that horse took a lot. That horse appeared pretty loaded.
How do you handicap him? You haven't seen a line since October the 31st. How do you handicap a horse like that?
Based on handicapping principles, when you miss that much time, and how do you use a horse like that?
Yeah,
when
exactly.
You drove a horse,
But then he did take support, and he
Yeah.
was put into play, and he did actually race kind of good.
It's pretty
so,
good. Didn't see much air. Stayed on the rail, but the horse looked
still,
like it wanted out.
Yeah.
It would have knocked me out if it won. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
there's again though, but that's a mystery. Like how do you factor a horse like that in there? It's
too tough.
You know
That's
what
why.
was one of the worst ones was the time. Remember the time Oka brought in, was it Alaraj that had missed a
Alaraj,
year
yeah.
in the Maple Leaf Trot and had missed a full year of racing, and his first start's going to be the Maple Leaf Trot, and he wins.
Yeah, but at least he had qualifiers though, right?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He did have a couple of qualifiers, but still, wow.
Yeah, no, I remember Ricky getting me a couple times with that. What was the horse's name? Jabberwocky.
Jabberwocky.
Getting
Yeah,
the both
he
of
was
us
tricky.
a couple of times. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
for
Well,
sure.
hopefully we don't have to guess on any more.
No mysteries.
No mysteries.
There's a few mysteries, but hopefully
A
none
lot.
that
Well,
bad.
if I'm on the mystery, I hope that I'm guessing right. That's
There
all
you
I'm
go.
hoping for. But speaking of last night, though, let's look at that recap from yesterday's action. Tyler Borth kicking off the action with a pair of victories. Actually, I'm going to hope that he can do the same here tonight because I've got him on top in the first 2 races on tonight's program. Jody leading the way or tied with 3 wins as well, including one of the finals that he captured, the valedictory with Get Wings, one that you really liked in that spot, the betting public liking him as well. He's been really nice. He's been really developing and getting better each and every start.
Much the best
Yeah,
of that bunch.
absolutely.
There's no doubt about that.
Fastest trotter, like Chaos, 55-3. He absolutely blew the doors off that group, didn't he, last night? That
Yeah.
bridle change,
Yeah.
it appeared made a heap of a difference for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he drove him differently too.
He did,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? He knew the horse was strong though. Like heading to the half, right? Trevor was taking a deep seat. The blind bridle. I think it worked fantastic last night, but I don't think it's one that you maybe would want to race him in every single
Okay.
week. He could get hot.
And the Niagara final, obviously better double down. One that raced really well. I know got a cheap half, got a nice middle half as well to work with, but still, I thought that she was sharper, and that's a filly that's certainly developed nicely, I thought, for trainer Herb Holland, because we saw quite a bit of greenness earlier on in her career.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Herb's a sharp cookie, though. And like, we were saying earlier, like you had her on top, right? You said it earlier on the show there. You said, I hope I don't get the one I hope I get the one that win the first elimination, not the one that win the second elimination. But Herb's a sharp guy, man. And I mean, I don't think that he was really had her on her toes in that second elimination, but he certainly had her on her toes last night.
All right, so a nice winning effort there by Better Double Down, and now we're going to get a chance to see a Get Wings effort or victory in the valedictory. And tell you what, it looked to us that Jody Cullen charge was maybe going to, open up and run away, and that horse came to a stop relatively quickly though at the head of the lane. And there's Get Wings, Jody able to sneak out of there and wrapped up winner like he's been the last couple of starts.
Yeah, he is much the best of this group, no doubt about that. RB Stonation T, I thought he was going to come up with a big effort again last night, but just didn't seem like he liked the front 2 weeks in a row. Last week he took to it no problem, and then last night, just didn't seem like he was into it. Because he looked good around the turn.
Tell you what, major threat, a really good effort to be second at 99-1 right now. I know you obviously wouldn't have minded that.
No.
Off a mistake last night, misprinting your pick 5 ticket, right?
Yeah. I was sick in my early pick 5, late pick 5, I guess it would have been, right? Mid pick 5. Yeah. I had Get Wings on top in the race, but when I sent my pick 5 ticket in, I put major threat down as my pick in there. And I'm thinking, how did I do this? It was too late to change it. It had already started. And then the horse ends up finishing second at 99-1. I was that close to being a genius.
See, sometimes mistakes pan out. They really do. It would have panned out in a big way at 99-1 last night. But a good night of action, though, last night, without a doubt. But we're going to hope to make it even better here on this Saturday night program. And I tell you what, race 1's going to be a very, very tricky race to handicap because really there's nobody in this field that you can trust, with all due respect. But there's one that I'm going to be siding with as a single in the open, and that's going to be the 6-horse Twinbee Alliance. Really tough to like what we've seen from his early his 2025 campaign. Winless in 8 starts, hit the board once. Now, we didn't get a chance to see that qualifying effort at Flamborough because, they're not televised.
Right.
But that line looks appealing, and look who he was third to in that qualifying effort. Nazaire, who would be obviously a favorite in this spot, has gone some big miles in his career. I think this horse is going to be a lot better coming back to the big track. And I'm really intrigued at the fact that Gerard Demers is going to take over training duties here. I think that's the thing for me that kind of catches my eye quite a bit. And this is one that I'm willing to side with as a major player in the opener because, again, nobody else to me stands out. So I'm curious to hear if you slotted him in anywhere and who you went to in this spot tonight.
Didn't use him at all, but I did give him a really good look over. I like the qualifier. I like where you're going. I like the fact that, Gerard Demers he's having a really, really big year this year, and he's, going to be taking over. Got a middle of the gate. Couple of things, though. Even before he had the rail at Flamborough in that qualifier and he gets away 6, even before that, it doesn't really seem like he brings a lot of gate speed. And if it's going to be first start back in a few months, I'm not 100% sure if he's going to cook him on out of there this time. So I'm more scared with him. Where's he going to get away? So I do like the horse, but I didn't use him in here. I kind of like the way Listen Lindo is racing right now, but I didn't use him either. I went with Late for Coffee.
Okay. Yep.
This is a horse that we've been watched him for a lot last year, 20 starts, and each time it seemed to me like he'd get a little better and a little better. And then his last couple of starts, he seems to me like he's getting right to the point where he's ready to vacate this class. So I'm going to go Late for Coffee with second time McNair.
You want to talk about how tricky this race is? Look, 4 different opinions here.
Yeah.
Some of us not even going, look, Garnet has Listen Lindo on top, you and I both, and Kevin not having this horse anywhere on the ticket. I'm going Twinbee Alliance, basically nobody aside from Kevin using him in underneath. Late for Coffee as well, you're the lone person using him on your ticket. We know he's capable if he can pop up with a big effort. Maybe those last couple of starts are an indication that he's ready for a winning effort, but he opened up taking money, right? 3-1 right now.
Yeah, and what I like about him right now is those last couple of starts he's been showing gate speed.
Yep.
He can get him in, he can get him out of there, get him into a good spot, and there's nobody any better at getting a ton out of a horse after the first couple of times that they've drove them than Dougie McNair. So biggest reason why I'm going to Late for Coffee is second time Doug McNair. But we've talked about this horse. He has been getting deeper and deeper each time they race him.
Parimutuel puzzler is what I like to call this opener because I think we're going to see a difference of opinions here. But I'm going to be going all in on the 6-horse Twinbee Alliance, hoping that the first start in the new barn can make a bit of a difference. We're going to move on to race number 2. We've got a field of 8 going Pulsford here, Randy. And a Major Perry was one that I wanted to take a wait-and-see approach on, in start number 1 in North America. You as well. I thought he raced pretty well in that effort, though, as well. I think he's going to be a big-time factor, but one that I'll use on my pick 5 tickets, just not on top tonight.
Yeah, that's my thing, too. I got him in for second. I also like the way that he raced in here. I went with PL Aussie.
Okay.
I thought that he raced, adequate in his last there. When he gets down into some of these cheaper classes, it's a small drop down, but nonetheless, it is a drop down. The last time that he was in a class kind of close to this was December the 20th, where he did come up with a win on the front. Don't necessarily like him. I mean, he wins a lot in front. I find that Louis always got along real good with him in front because he just roll him hard, and he'd usually bottom the field out. But I also found the few times that James, when he drove him, he'd race him from way off, and he'd come flying on the end of it to short field. He's been left with and raced kind of, into his races in his last couple of starts. I think that he could race either way, and we're getting a shoeing change. Amanda Riley sending in the aluminums up front. So they're taking the flops off, and they're going to go to the straight Nikes on PL
Seems
Aussie.
like a pretty big chewing change, I would have to say, especially this time of year.
With the track the way that it is, you get that extra kind of grab and that, Yeah, I think it's a good change. Major Perry threw him in for second, and that's the way you're going?
Yep, and you know what? I used him underneath, but I went to Logan Behold. You know what? I see a lot of speed in this race. I think Odds on Capitalism might be aggressively handled. PL Aussie, Major Perry, Wallace Hartley could be aggressively handled in this spot. I like the way Logan Behold's been racing. I mean, back-to-back weeks closing up nicely. I think he's going to benefit from a lot of speed in front of him. Maybe he's going to be too far out of the action. There's always a possibility of that, but I tell you what, I really like the way he's been racing, and I think that this is one that can pick up the pieces at the end.
That is a really sharp pick, but doesn't surprise me coming from you.
Don't know. It's got to work out, though. But again, I just like the life that he's shown on the end of his miles, right?
So, everything you said is spot on.
All right.
Way to go, John.
Those are our thoughts on race number 2. We're going to move on to race number 3. That's going to kick off that early pick 4. We've got some talented pacing mares going closer here, Randy, and a few of them we got a chance to see in that mandatory payout, right, in that jackpot high 5. Some of these trips didn't work out for some of these rivals, especially in the middle of the gate between Caviar and Crackers and the 6-horse Tells on a Roll. They draw much better here tonight. I think that both should be a lot sharper, but I tell you what, it's still tough to trust either one of them right now because I don't think they're racing as well as we know they're capable of as of late.
Sporty Evie?
Caviar and Crackers.
Right. Yeah, okay.
Right, yeah.
I'm wrong race. Okay, yeah, so Caviar and Crackers.
Your mind's all over the place.
All over the place, John. You got to reel me in here. I like the way that she raced. I know you could say that she was out of position in that last race. That was the high 5, 12 horses in it, a lot of action kind of going on in that one. So I'm going to go back to Caviar and Crackers in here, but there are... I'm not 100% sold on her, and she's not really bringing the form, you know what I mean? It's good form, but it's not the form that sometimes you're used to seeing with her. I am going to go that way, but I'm really, really scared of Tells on a Roll in here too. I got her in for second, and I think that with these two, they can either come out of there together, because Caviar and Crackers can leave if he wants her to, or they can, race at a different style. Either way, I do think that they're the two that scare me the most.
The way I look at it, I know that Caviar and Crackers is better suited when she has a target to chase it. That doesn't mean you can't have a helmet to chase and leave out of there and work out a pretty good trip. It could line up 6-5 for all we know, and that could be a dream trip. Fred Hensley and his star pacing mare, but she's definitely a contender. You and I both going with her on top. Tells on a Roll. Wouldn't surprise me. She's got a good draw. You have to figure she's going to be aggressively handled. She doesn't have the 10-hole with 2 trailers tonight, but I tell you what, she's got it all. We both have her in underneath. I did include her in my pick 5 tickets because the last couple of starts in against similar company, I tell you what, she's raced really well in my opinion.
She's raced really good. No, the only reason I don't think I used her, I did use her in my pick 5 as well, but the only reason why I guess you could say I had her in for third is the rail.
Yeah, okay.
I'm just scared of where she's going to get away from the rail. Sometimes the rail can be a little bit tricky. She's got good gate speed, but she's got even better gate speed when she's middle of the gate to the outside of the gate.
Nice opportunity for Daryl Thiessen. Obviously picked up that drive late in the card on Style for a Mile. Going to get a chance to sit behind her yet again. She's got a much better draw to work with here tonight. I didn't factor her in as a win candidate, but I'm expecting a good showing from her.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I think that too, that he can race her from off the pace, and when she races that way, he can set her up in a week or two for a big win.
All right, we're gonna move on to race number 4. That's gonna kick off that pick 6 sequence. Another pretty tricky race here, though, Randy. I mean, I had a tough time with this one. I think I went 4 deep in that pick 5. Booker Seelster, how impressive was he last time out? But from the rail, he goes to the 10-hole tonight, and he's going to be installed as the morning line favorite. Wouldn't be surprised if he got the job done, but things might be a little bit tougher from the outside. Did you side with him as a double-up candidate potentially?
Singled.
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 Okay, so you love him tonight.
Loved him last week.
Yep.
Don't know about tonight so far, but I love the way that he raced last week and love the barn that he comes out of. I think that this horse could, has a good possibility of just getting stronger and stronger. McNair sticks. That's 3 starts now, or this is going to be the 3rd start for Dougie and Booker Sealster. I know he's got the outside, but I think that I'm going to get a bit of a price. I think a lot of people will maybe, try to play against him. I was so impressed with him last week, and I'm really not all that overly impressed with what he's in against in here tonight. I've given Chef a couple of opportunities there, and I can't seem to get the job done with him. Doc's Ernest, there's another one. I think JD's tripped this guy out big time a few times, but all he seems to want to do right now is be second in there. So Booker Sealster, he's going to be a single for me.
All right, I went to Chef in this spot. Can't say that I absolutely love him, though, per se, but I love the fact when he left out of there, he got covered up. Obviously made that miscue. Things got a little bit tight, I think, at that half. Not sure if it was just a break where he stepped on a wheel or it might have been a bit of an interference break there. But nevertheless, I thought that we never really got a chance to see him finish off his mile. So one that I'm going to use on top here, hoping that maybe he can rebound with a better effort. You mentioned Doc's Ernest. I think Doc's Ernest is one that probably needed a couple of weeks off. Was racing tough, was aggressively handled in his most recent start, faded to be 5th. Can't say that I loved his appearance-wise in post-parade, though. I've seen him look better even during the race, but I think this is a horse that has raced really, really well for Kayla Henry. I'm expecting a much better performance here tonight, I think.
I agree. I think I got him in for second. I think that he can put up. The big thing with me, I think that if he pushes out of there, who comes with him? And I'm praying to goodness that it's going to be Booker Sealster coming with him.
Tell you what, freight days a week. Again, one that you and I both talked about, I think is better suited racing off a helmet. I know he was aggressively handled 2 starts back. Didn't finish up the way we know he's accustomed to finishing. How good was he last time out? Was never a contender from a win perspective, but he finished up nicely late in the mile.
Completely agree, and I think I would have probably threw him in for a part of the mix if Tyler Jones come back. And nothing against Todd Ratchford, but I don't know if Todd's drove him before, or at least ways in recent memory. And I'm a big person that if a horse races big, I really like to see the same driver come back again because they know that the horse raced good. Right. So hint, hint, Todd, the horse raced good.
There's our thoughts on race number 4. That's going to kick off that pick 6 sequence. We're going to move on to race number 5. That's going to close things out in this early pick 5. And Bob McClure in for 1 drive this evening, Randy, and his lone drive tonight is going to be a horse that he's super familiar with, and Poseidon Sealster, one that he's sat behind plenty of times in his career, and he's in a great spot, I have to think. And what's enticing to me is now Tony Montini is going to be taking over training duties. Don Lindsay going to be handing the training duties over to Tony Montini, still a co-owner on this veteran pacer. I mean, just try and convince me that this guy gets beat tonight because I'm all in on him.
And a bridle change.
Yep.
And I'm going to go from, looks like open to a set of blinkers on this guy tonight. So McClure's coming in for 1 drive. He's going into a different barn. He's already racing phenomenally well for Donnie Lindsay. His form right now is amazingly good. The new trainer, Montini, is going to send in a bridle change. It's going to close him up a little bit. Looks like it's going to go from open, but definitely he's going to be wearing blinkers. There's so much to like about him. But here, let me see if you can convince yourself out there, because we have the replay of Poseidon Sealster's last start in non-winners of 12,000. This is a drop down. The last time he was in this class, December the 13th. First start back after a couple of months of layoff. Took good support and ended up finishing second. Has had a couple of starts since then, and now coming back to this class. You tell me, John, what do you think about this last start?
A solid effort, and you and I both really love the horse. The eventual winner in this race, Bruno, no. You could see Bob never leaving the rail. Was moving well at the end of it, but again, I just probably a horse that just wasn't good enough to win on this particular night anyways, but a really good effort nonetheless, I thought. And I think tonight's going to be all systems go. I think he's going to be handled aggressively from the outside. He's in a perfect spot to get that first win here of 2026. And I think this is a horse we know that has so much talent, has always displayed speed, but he's just a rocket off the car. He can get out of there without any trouble whatsoever. So you and I both on the same page with Poseidon Sealster. Garnet and Kevin are going to team up and go to Uncle Shank. Thought he raced fine last time out. I think that final quarter is going to translate nicely. The 10 hole might be a little bit of a tricky factor for him. He can leave out of there. That's not the issue. you know what? I still thought he should have finished off that mile 2 starts back. I really do. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
and
He got picked off by a fast horse, but he should have finished it off, in my opinion.
True, and then the fact is now he's got the 10 hole,
Yep.
and you know he's not taking him to the back.
Nope.
He's going to come out of there. So if he pays for it hard, you know, and he kind of faded a little bit last week there, what's he going to do this week? I threw him in for third. I agree with him. I think he's a horse that you could use. You know, you could use him up on top, but you should really try to use him in somewhere. I think he's live, but I don't see him as a win candidate from the 10 hole. If he had middle of the gate, I'm all over him. But where I think that if you're not going to go with Poseidon Sealster, how do you not go with Lose World?
Lose World really good last time. I think he needed that trip,
He
right?
did.
He was obviously handled aggressively. 2 starts back, things didn't work out. Jody back aboard, who's pretty familiar with him, has a lot of success sitting behind him, guided him to a perfect trip there, to a victory. But I tell you what, Poseidon Sealster, for me, the biggest thing is on December 5th, that qualifying effort was superb in my opinion. He was absolutely loaded with James aboard. And then he stepped up into the same class on December 13th. And look, he was second best, but I tell you what, I still thought he raced really, really well. And to
10
me,
hole.
still tight line to driver Bob McClure. Nobody was going to get to Dublin Dasher in that spot, but he still raced really, really well. And then what happens the week after? You step up against tougher company, and the same thing happens the following start after that. So he's back in the non-winners of 9,000 class, where I thought he was going to be a big-time factor on the 13th. I say it's all systems go tonight.
I agree. I do.
Right.
And again, you know, McClure coming in for one drive.
Yeah, you know what I mean? He loves his horse, but he also knows it's a super live drive.
For sure.
All right, there's our thoughts on race number 5. We're going to move on to race number 8. That's going to kick off that third and final pick 5. Again, we've got 12 races on tap tonight, which means 3 pick 5 sequences. Man, some of these legs are really, really tough for Andy. Morning line favorite being the 4-horse One More Bet, but we know that this mare is awfully camera shy. It races well, without a doubt, but just tough to trust as a win candidate for sure. But I can make the case for several in here, but I know there's one in particular you're a fan of tonight.
Yeah, Blinded by Delight is going to be my Waples watch on here. I know she's coming in off of a vet scratch sick. Not always the time that you want to kind of pull the trigger on one, but there's a few things about her that I really like. And the number one, she is going to be making first start Lasix. Now, I'm a big fan of second start Lasix. When the first start Lasix, they don't do an over bunch with them. But there are certain horses that I will go to first start Lasix. If it's a horse that I think is racing really, really good, that, you know, isn't bleeding bad enough that the first time Lasix could be enough to make the difference. So she's going to, Blinded by Delight is going to go first start Lasix. Tyler Bort's going to stick with her. He's been sticking with her good. Love the barn that she comes out of with Burgess. And I think that she brings a lot of class. I've used her different times from the 9 hole up higher than the class that she's going to be racing in here tonight. So I've always had a bit of a like on this one. But the replay that we're going to show you, and we're going to take you ways back. So she hasn't raced since December the 6th, and we're going to take you to the November the 21st, and that's when she was in the non-winners of 9,000 class, which, you know, basically one of the cheaper classes that she's been in here. But here's the reason why I wanted to send this one is what I was saying. I don't think she's far away from being a win candidate anyway. And I think that first start Lasix could be enough just to put her over that hump. So let's take a look at this replay. Like I said, no Lasix then, but she spends a great deal of time on the outside, and I think she comes up with an extremely nice mile. And you would only think that even with the first start Lasix, as long as he's got a fairly good mile into her, which I think that he would, he's a real sharp guy, Blair. I think that she is more than capable of coming up with a big effort in here. So again, she spent a long time on the outside in this track. She was out there for a long time for Tyler, and she just keeps coming. And like I said, this is no Lasix. This to me is the sign that she needed the Lasix. She can go by. She's just not putting herself by. She's looking after herself right there. So first start Lasix, if she happens to get tripped out and realizes that she's not going to bleed, it could be enough tonight. But that's why I like second start Lasix, if you can get them through first start.
The date for me was kind of the deciding factor of where I was going to rate her tonight, right? But for you, you're confident, despite the stale date, and out of Blair's barn, that she's going to be, she's got a fitness tightener into her, you're guessing?
I think so,
okay.
Yeah. I think that he's probably got a good mile into her at some point.
A lot of talent.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of talent. I'm really curious to see how this Lasix is going to factor in.
Blair or the horse?
A little bit of both.
Yeah, for no doubt. I got to go with you on that.
All right, but deep field on race number 8. This is going to be a competitive way to kick off that late pick 5. We're going to move on to race number 9, and we've got our featured event here, the $40,000 open pace. Field of 6. And I think these two, starting from the middle of the gate, are going to be the ones that everybody are going to be looking at. But we've got Salzburg Victor back in town. Randy, after a stint in the United States, raced several times across Kentucky and Ohio. He's coming off some recent tries at Dayton. But he's back home, and I'm excited to see him being another addition here to the circuit.
You know, this is another one, eh? Talk about an overachiever, because we've seen him a few years ago. Remember when he made his way up into the open class, and at first you kept thinking to yourself, well, he's a really nice horse, but he's not an open pacer. And then Austin Sorey and Salzburg Victor just took off. They win about 9 out of their next 12 races all in the open. So really nice horse, and nice to have him back here as well. Before I say which way that I'm going, where did you go?
I went to Brew Hanover tonight.
I knew that you would.
I figured,
okay,
you know what,
go ahead.
I'm going to go and see if he can maybe turn the tables. It's tough, though, because Tarasi's been so sharp. I'm just hoping that tonight Brew can either sit on his back or cut this mile, because he's had to make up a little bit. He's moving well, but Tarasi's just got that breather just enough where he can kind of sprint away, but he's been sharp right now.
When since he's come back after his 2 qualifiers, Brew Hanover, what was his best start?
I thought his best start was, I thought it was last week. I
Agreed.
Really did. I did.
Completely
Left
agreed.
Out of there, took a bit
I
of a
thought I
shuffle.
could get away with one more week, and you jumped all over it. Good for you.
Well, I mean, he's going to take a lot of support.
He
He's gonna
is,
take
but
a lot of support.
we got the replay. Let's take a look at this replay last week. I go Tarasi, the wonder child over there. He's going to go Brew Hanover. I mean, and again, it's just a sharp pick from you, brother, because like I said, to me, this was the start where we started to see the Brew Hanover again. Tarasi raced fantastic. I really do believe that the reason Tarasi won this race is because of the guy sitting behind him. Okay. I think the drive won this race. I don't necessarily believe that he overpowered the rest of them. James escapes out of here, out of a really, really nasty situation. And, here he starts to move forward with this big guy now. And like I said, big horse recently came back. To me, this is the start where he really started to show that, he was back to being Brew Hanover again. I'm going to go one more week with Tarasi because, like I said, I kind of thought with the post position draw, I could get there one more time. But I'm not surprised that you went with Brew.
I can't fault you for Tarasi. Again, it was a coin flip for me. It was really tough deciding between the two because I think Tarasi's going to have the edge tactically in this spot. And again, he's just been so good. I backed him on November 22nd, knowing that I'd get a better price because I think that this is a horse obviously with a heap of talent. And if you give them a couple of starts, the price goes with it. And I figured, let me take advantage and start number 1. We're not going to get a price on either one of these two horses, but just one that I think these are probably the 2 most probable winners in this race, I'd say. But remember the Alamo, raced well last time out too. He's one that can definitely throw a bit of a wrinkle in this race, I'd say as well.
I think that we remember the Alamo. The best thing that they can do for him is what they did last week. If they do that a couple of times, I say that at some point his wicked speed, he squirts through and is able to get the best of Tarasi or Brew Hanover.
All right, and Salzburg Victor, like I said, curious to see what kind of trip we're going to see, but he always seems to race better this time of year, in the wintertime. That's when he starts to string together some good efforts. But again, he's coming back home against a couple of sharp pacers in Tarasi as well as Brew Hanover. We're going to move on to race number 10. That's going to wrap up this mid-pick 5. Field of 8 going posted here, Randy. A couple of horses that you've liked in back-to-back weeks. Self-Made and RJ Ringo, they both draw the middle of the gate, but you are going to go in a different direction in this spot tonight. You're going to go to the far outside. Ario Hanover. Curious to hear your thoughts on this guy tonight.
Well, I sat behind him in a qualifier. I mean, this is a high-powered horse, real high-powered horse. Big engine on him. He can do a lot, cover the ground real good, nice gated, lot to go with him. Recently, it looks like he's come back from a little bit of some time off. Only the 8 starts last year, more or less, come towards the end of it. Now, he's 7 years old and he's a big horse. And I've always been a believer that when you get into that, 6 to 10 years of age, it always seems to me like no matter how many training miles you get into them, whether it's a trotter or a pacer, you need races. That's the only thing that gets them tight is you need races. So he's got 8 races into him now and a couple of qualifiers too. I think that he's ready for a good effort. Again, I know what he's capable of. When he was here earlier on as a younger horse, he could get himself right up to the open. Just a really good. You could see the speed badge of 49 and change, So this last week was the first time in my recent memory that James McDonald has drove this guy. And I honestly did think that James would get along real good with him, but I didn't use him. He had the 9-hole, and I think that James really did get along good with him. So let's take a replay at Ariel Hanover. Going to come back to more or less the same class. Non-winners is 7,300, non-winners is 6,100 last start, but same class, just, a little bit different, higher number on the end of it. But Ariel Hanover had the 9-hole and had to leave out of there a huge quarter, 27 flat from the 9-hole where he was parked, just to get into that position right there. And now here's the point. Here it comes down where I think that this horse needs racing. This is where it really starts to show. He's every bit as competitive as the rest of them, but right in through here, he's going to start to lose the oxygen. The fitness is going to start to count right here. But he raced him hard last week. I'm not 100% sure if he's going to have to race him as hard this week. So I'm going to take a chance at him. 10-1 morning line. I got a feeling I'm not going to get 10-1 on him. But if he races as good as I think he can, just like John said, next week the price disappears.
No, I think you're going to get more than 10-1 on him tonight. You're the only one going with him in the spot. He was 13-1 last time. Look, the line doesn't look appealing, but again, it's nothing flashy about their effort. But what you mentioned was key. Again, it might maybe just a fitness tightener that he needed, and the fact that he left out of there. You like when horses get tired, and he could respond with a good effort. Look, there's going to be some speed in this race, right? I thought your top pick, Self-Made, raced pretty well last time out. I think he'll be leaving out of there. RJ Ringo. Tough trip last time out. Got parked a long way. And I think Sergeant Slaughter, I thought, raced pretty well. And I think he'll be aggressively handled as well. What do we make of Lamandier? Again, 2 starts here in North America. He worked out a picture-perfect trip last time out, but he just didn't fire the way I expected him to.
Yeah, the only thing I threw him in for second, simply because he's got an inside post. I think that Brett can, get him into a good spot. Nothing against whoever was driving him before, but there's a pretty good chance that Ron's going to really try to have him as good as possible for his son being in town. No different than sometimes we'll see Scotty Z come into town and Rick will have his horses just on their toes, So I like him in here, and they're getting a bridle change to him. They're taking the open bridle off of him. I was never a big fan of open bridles anyway. I don't mind them, but they're not one of my go-to kind of bridle. And he's going to go from an open to a Swedish blind. So he's either going to be wearing the blinds up when he comes on the track, which means that he'll be starting out in an open, or the blinds are going to be like this, which means that when he pulls the cord, then he's going to get an open. Either way, it's a bridle change, and maybe that's all it's going to take. I don't think he's far away from coming up with a big effort, so I'm going to throw him in there because he drew good.
Competitive race, though.
Very competitive. Another mystery.
Race. All right, we're going to move on to race number 11. That's going to be the first half of that late double. Field of 7 here, and another group of talented pacing mares, and so much more. We're going to get a chance to see her back in action, and just a tough trip in that mandatory payout. I tell you what, she raced really well in defeat. Can't say that I've loved the way she looked in parade appearance-wise last. I've seen her look better. Maybe I'm not saying she wasn't. She didn't put forth a good effort by any means. I've just seen her look better.
I thought that she looked incredibly sharp. You know what I mean? Like really like sharpness-wise, and she was trying to make herself sharp too, swinging the head around and trying to get into it. I did not like the way that she was bringing their front feet up off the ground. To me, she was just snapping them up, like a person standing on a hot plate or hot sand, I think her feet were maybe bothering her a little bit last week. I just did not like the way that she was moving. And when she raced the way that she did, I know she was first over, but she didn't look the way that she normally did. And yeah, she finished third, only beaten a half length. But again, if a horse is footsore, that's what you get. You don't usually get them, they get beat 5-6 lengths. They'll get beat a half a length. They'll get beat ahead. They just won't push themselves past that last horse. So I'm going to throw her in for fourth tonight. Hope that the read was okay last week, and that that it's not going to cost me in here tonight. And I'm going to go with Miss Quicksand. Okay, that's where I'm going to go, and we're going to show the replay on her as well. She's going to be my beat the favorite, and the biggest reason is her form right now is dead on fantastic, just as good as. I mean, I'm not putting her at the level of some of these mares, but her form right now is at the level of these mares. And the other thing is too, don't like her on the inside wing. I don't like her when she draws 1, 2, and 3. I don't like her at all. She can't get out of there. She always gets herself into a situation where she either has to be first over, remove, or sit fourth on the inside, and it never seems to work out. This is basically what happened. So this week, she picks up Jody for the second week, and now she gets the outside wing, and I think that he's going to be able to scoot her right on out of there. So let's take a look at Miss Quicksand. And like I said, she had the 2-hole. He gets away 7th with her. That's not the first time that she's had an inside post and gotten away poorly. But does she have any go? I say the form is still there. You know, she's sitting, 5 back on the rail right now. She's probably, I'd say about, 6 lengths out of it, John, and now she's still, you can tell by his body language, he has to move her sideways. There was no room up the inside of Trevor with Angostura. But does she just let Trevor get away from her? No. And look at the body language still on Jody. He cannot turn her loose. Angostura beats her a couple of lengths, she's that far back, but at no point was she ever turned loose. Now she's got the outside wing in a field where I think that Jody can just scare her out of there and get her into a good spot. Century Jamila scares me, but if Miss Quicksand gets to the front, nobody scares me.
I might have gone a little bit too light on Miss Quicksand tonight. That was a good effort. I was impressed by a few of them in that race. I thought Angostura Hanover certainly raced really well, but
she did.
Like you mentioned, I think I love the fact that Jody got a chance to sit behind her with that kind of effort last week.
Agreed.
Because he's going to come back knowing he's got a live mare that he's going to get
and
a
an
chance
outside
to sit
wing,
and with gate speed.
Yeah, and so from the outside, she can fly out of there. You know
what? And the horses to her inside, I think Century Jamila is going to be leaving out of there. There's a lot of speed. I don't think you have to worry about Line's Better Day.
No.
Per se, leaving out of there. I think this is a horse that can close up for a piece, but that makes Quicksand again. She's sharp. She stepped up against it wasn't a big jump up in class. It was just a big jump up in terms of the competition she took on.
Talent.
A lot of talent there, but she's got talent herself without a doubt. So nice replay that you highlighted there, Randy. I think definitely a mare that seems to be continuing to trend in the right direction. So we're going to look at some early pick 5 tickets, and I'm curious to see your thoughts here.
And you went Dusty Lane Levi in the last?
I did go Dusty Lane Levi. Going to be my best bet tonight. I'm a little surprised, though, that you know what? I know you factored in Lose World. I'm surprised you didn't single Poseidon Sealster. I thought you would have done that for sure tonight.
The only thing that's scaring me is sometimes, Poseidon Sealster, as great of an animal he is, sometimes he's a little camera shy.
Yep.
If Jody, who's got the inside of him, lands on his back, the way Lose World is racing right now, could he out-sprint him? I say he could.
Great
So
point.
that's the reason why I went that route. Just not a real formful one for me. The only single is going to come along in race number 10, and I think that Booker Sealster is a single. So a little bit more money than what I normally like to spend, but we started the show off, and I was honest with it and told you, it's a bit of a mystery to me tonight.
If you can get by the first 2 legs, I think you've got a great shot to hit this ticket. Because I think Booker Sealster outside Jarnot, he's obviously a big-time contender. Those first 2 races are tough. I
really
think
tough.
You've got 2 contenders, but you can make the case for 3 others. And how about the first race? I mean, it's a puzzler.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, you landed on the inside too. They're taking support. They're logical. They're contenders. But man, I found the sequence to be awfully tricky. So $32 cost for you. I believe mine's going to be $36. I'm going to go bookend singles. I'm going to go all in on Twinbee Alliance in the opener. I'm just going to side with Poseidon Sealster, just hoping that his class can prevail on this spot, Randy. And then I think I've got enough coverage in those middle legs to kind of get me to leg number 5. I just need to get through leg number 1 first.
Yeah, listen, it's a maiden. Horses, yours is 4 years old and still hasn't won a race yet. My top 2 there, they're, one's a 4-year-old, one's a 3-year-old, and they both won, a race on a B track someplace. So it's a really mysterious little card they gave us tonight.
Very mysterious sequence without a doubt, and I think that's exactly the way it kicks off in race number 1. And we're going to look at more pick 5 tickets. We're going to look at your mid-pick 5 ticket, Randy, and a $16 cost with a pair of singles here in this sequence for you.
Yeah, 8 and 10 are my 2 singles, and that's going to be Blinded by Delight. I'm going to try to separate myself here with Blinded by Delight. And then in race number 10, I singled the other long shot in there, and that's going to be Ario Hanover. I like him in here tonight. So yeah, those are going to be my pick 5. The opening leg of it, the race number 6, I found that one to be extremely difficult as well.
Yep.
I mean, Man Destiny is going to be my top pick in here, but I don't really love anybody in there.
Same with me. I think that the Feast and Man Destiny are probably the ones that you can rely on the most, and if they get beat, I think that's where I probably falter as well. In the late pick 5 ticket for you, Randy, a $48 cost.
And you can tell who the single is.
Yeah, all in is going to be, Dusty Lane Levi, one that continues to just impress in a big way.
I'll say, yeah, really, really racing very, very well right now.
All right, so some coverage there before you get to that final race in race number 12. But let's look at some your plays of the night, Randy. Let's look at your 4-pack here as we kick off this Saturday night program.
Okay, all in is going to be Poseidon Sealster in race number 5. He's going to be the 8-horse in there. Then we're going to move on to Waples Watch. Is going to be Blinded by the Light in race number 8. Worth a Look is going to be Ariel Hanover, the 8-hole in an 8-horse field. And my Beat the Favorite is going to be Miss Quicksand.
Yeah, again, I think Miss Quicksand, one that you definitely need to give a second look after that replay effort there in her most recent. So I'm in agreement with you, Randy, on your all in. I'm all in on Poseidon Sealster. My maiden breaker is going to be Twinbee Alliance to kick things off in the opener. My Worth a Look, Logan Behold, race number 2, and my best bet.
Nice pick.
I'm with you, Dusty Lane Levi. Really, really impressive. I know that Travis Cullen trainee or Jody Cullen trainee Blue Bar really needed that wire last time up because Dusty Lane Levi, he was sharp.
Yeah, he is. He's really, really racing well.
Gislan Paquette in agreement with us. It's time, Poseidon Sealster. I couldn't agree more, Gislan. And Garnet Barnstall's going to be going head-to-head with all 3 of us. Spot play is going to be Uncle Shank. And Kevin Plaucha, he's on board with us, Randy. Dusty Lane Levi is going to be spot play in race number 12. We're moments away from kicking off this Saturday night program. Thanks for joining us on the pre-show, and we'll be with you all night long to take you through this night of action. Best of luck.